we know for today's section that relationship management comes all down to one simple concept that changed my entire business. As a real estate professional, my only job is to make people feel special, right? The challenge that I have is, again, write this down, doing it at scale. And that's why you're here in Pulse, is to learn what the top elite agents do across the country from all companies, the plays that they've realized how they can do this with the right formula and the right amount of touches to make sure that it produces business time and time and time again. So in the chat box, I'd like you to put in there, what is one thing you do to make people in your database feel special? Go ahead and put that in the chat box now. Like, give me, what do you do? Do you do, yeah, pop buys? There you go. I love it. Client events, handwritten notes, absolutely. Ooh, mail happy birthday boxes with a streamer, cupcake, hostess, candle, and birthday hat. Ernie, that is amazing. Yeah, I think a lot of people take ideas away from this too. Anniversaries, random cards. Just did 46 pop buys, Emma. That's awesome. Almost killed me and sent 60 holiday cards. It sounds, yeah, but this is again, right? Emma does a ton of business, and this is what does that. Birthdays, I love it. Okay. So what we've got to figure out, though, is at some point we're going to build a machine that continues to grow and get bigger. And we're going to have to start making some decisions on how to do this at the highest level and still have time to live our lives and go on appointments and be with our family, right? So we're going to talk about an ambassador-based business model today and why it would be so important, okay? Invite them to private events. Absolutely. Yeah, that's right, Cal. So ambassador-based business model. This is so you don't have to have any more cold conversations. No more driving across the state for a random lead. Control your calendar. Less conversations per closing. Now we've monitored this and tracked it over the years. There are people in our organization that it takes them 7 conversations per one appointment held. And then there's people in our organizations that take 200 for one appointment. Not a closing, an appointment, 200 conversations versus 7. Unless I'm crazy, I'd want to be the person with 7 conversations per appointment held and not 200. But you've got to build up to that if you do these steps correctly. Okay. And then lastly, work with people you like and that like you. That seems like a no-brainer. All right. So let's talk about the economic model of these ambassadors real quick. So we know from all of our data that 6 ambassadors equals 1 closed sale. Now remember, an ambassador is someone that you truly believe would buy or sell real estate with you or refer real estate business to you in your heart of hearts. Now, for my hardcore Pulse people out there, we always say if I were to call these people, you just gave me their phone number and I called them up just cold and said, hey, who's your preferred real estate agent of choice? They would say your name in 2 seconds without hesitating. Now, if that's not what an ambassador is to you, then maybe you have a lot of leads in your system or future ambassadors, people that you've met at a barbecue, you've talked to them, you kind of think that they'd be interested in buying or selling with you, but they're not a true ambassador. Believe me, you know who your ambassadors are, okay? So when you have 500 ambassadors, that equates out to 83 closed sales a year. 83 closed sales, average $15,000 commission. And again, I know we have people from all over the country, use whatever your number is. That's $1,250,000 in paid GCI. $1,250,000 in paid GCI. Now, if you wanted to do half of that, maybe you need 250 ambassadors and you're making $600-ish thousand, depending on what your price point is. Maybe you go, Brendan, I want even half that again, right? I want 125 ambassadors. Whatever it is, you're taking the number divided by 6 And that's going to be what that number comes out to. All right. And then here's the cost involved. If you have $1 per average cost and you're doing 46 touches a year at 500 ambassadors, it's costing you $23,000 to make $1,250,000. And again, scale this to whatever way that you want. Now, some people say to me all the time, but Brendan, my pop buys cost way more than $1 a piece. I get it. Then then change your number. If you know your average cost per piece is $3.20, I guarantee you're still making a huge ROI, return on investment, based upon those numbers. Huge. Okay. So as we go through this today, we've got to start really diving deep into what an ambassador is, and then how do we start going through this to set them up in our system? Because if we don't get this right from the day one, some of you might have to leave today's session and buy a new CRM system. I'm sorry, you might have to. Some of you might need to start using a CRM because you haven't your entire career and you've lived off of Excel spreadsheets or whatever. I also want to crush this limited belief right now. Some people keep telling me, Brendan, I'm fine. I really just want to make 150 grand a year. I was just down in Austin, or excuse me, Scottsdale, and Tony DeSella was there, a real estate coach and mentor for many years. And he goes, people that say that they're comfortable making a certain amount, if you really think about it, are some of the most selfish people on earth. Because if you're comfortable making a certain amount, then did you check with your family to make sure they're comfortable with it? Did you check in with your church, your charity, with everything else? And that really hit home with me to make me start thinking about what that number needs to be for everyone else that I should be helping, right? So when you're looking at this in your database and you're going, look, I'm okay with making 100 grand, maybe give that some thought and kick that number up, right? Who else could you help? Who else needs your help? Aaron has a question. So is an ambassador a more connected person than a Met? Yeah, no, so we're just talking very similar, Aaron, from the MREA book, right? So we used to have Mets and haven't Mets. Ambassador is very almost identical to a Met, right? It's very much the same thing. We just got, people were so confused with Met, meaning, so I met this person in person, but I go, I meet people in person all the time. They're not an ambassador of my business. What I truly want, right, is someone that, the definition here, believes in that. Again, they would stop somebody in a restaurant and be like, if you're talking about real estate, Brendan's, that's the guy. You got to use him. He's phenomenal. So yeah, great question. We got to make sure we're clear on that. All right, relationship management. Here's the formula, okay? Now, this is going to be a problem with today too, is you're going to go, I don't like this formula. I want to do my own formula. Totally fine, right? Whatever you want your formula to be, I'm going to give you the one that we've used to tweak. And we used to have 85 touches. We used to have 33, everywhere in between. We're constantly beta testing this to see what works. And what I mean by beta testing is we don't want people to unsubscribe from us. We want to make sure we're not putting too much out there. But I guarantee you, one of the things that people get challenged with right now is you're not doing enough and you think it's enough. Think about how many advertisements your brain is receiving in the course of a week. If you don't stay relevant in the eyes of your ambassadors, then somebody else is. Okay. So 12 direct mailers, 12 market reports, 12 property alerts, 4 client events, 2 personal touches, and 4 phone calls a year. Okay, these are all touches per year. All right. So when we look at this, we've got to start first with direct mailers. Now, you can scan the QR code. We're going to give you a bunch of our templates. What we have found with direct mailers is that you're going to want to do something real estate related and then something fun. Now, you can take this to whatever level you want. We're just showing you postcards. You could do market reports. You could do boomerangs, with the 2-for-1 bloomin' onion at Outback Steakhouse. You can do whatever it is, but they need to, football calendars or hockey calendars or magnetic, whatever. Something that gets your face in front of the client that provides some level of value, a minimum of once a month. So, in the chat box, this year, how many pieces of direct mail did your clients receive from you total? We're almost to the end of December. You can just estimate out December. How many pieces of direct mail did your clients receive from you? There you go. Kenneth's got 10. Excellent. Greg, 12. Catherine, 18. I love it. Yeah, good. So we've got some people doing almost once a month. Some people are doing twice a month. Some people are close to that. I love that. Excellent. Okay. So again, the minimum though, 12. I just saw a stat the other day that the average piece of direct mail sits out for an average, I think, of 8 days before it's thrown away right now. So that means your face sitting somewhere for an average of 8 days, it's still extremely powerful. Okay. Then the next piece is trying to figure out that call to action and how you're going to utilize the rest of it. So again, you see this sold in 65 card that we have. Maybe you're going to send out something about mortgage rates dropping or where the current rate structure is. Whatever it might be. All you have to do is Google real estate mailers to get a bajillion ideas. Here's what I want you to write down. If I don't plan out the next 6 months, it's probably not going to happen. So this is business planning month, right? December, November. I know some of you are even earlier than that. What is your direct mail marketing business plan for 2024 for your database? Not new business, just your database. Okay, make sure you have that. Then the next thing we have is 12 market reports. Now, we use HomeBot. So every single person's on a market report in our system. Then, of course, you could use a free version. So if you wanted to use the MLS, to create a market report in the MLS, you could just set somebody up on an automated search for once a month that they're receiving the latest market stats, and all that's done in almost any local MLS I've ever seen. So you can do it free. The reason I warn you about doing it free is if you don't have a tool or a website. The reason we use HomeBot is because it brings them back through our website, which increases our search engine optimization. If I'm sending them to an outside world, or if I'm partnering with a lender to do the HomeBot, the lender or HomeBot's getting the results of that, not my website. And I want my website, to say mine, our company's website, right, all of our partners, to get pulled up in the natural search engine optimization, meaning that when someone types in buy a home in Denver, boop, our website pops up. All of that happens because of clicks on our website, and Google's going, wow, you must be important. So just be thoughtful of how you set up your system. Can you do it through outside companies like Altos, or can you set them up where you just do an email, you Google market stats and email them once a month to your clients? Sure. But are you getting the fruits of your labor? Okay, so just make sure you think about that in that strategy. All right. Then the next 12 are property alerts, and these are extremely critical. Are they receiving, if in your database, everyone in your database that owns a home should be receiving an update of the current active properties that are for sale in their neighborhood. Think about it. If I'm a seller, I want to know how many active homes are for sale in my area. I want to know what the average prices are. And when my neighbor lists his house for $650 and I can't believe that things are selling that high, I'm going to call up my agent and go, I just saw the house at 123 Elm Street listed $650. Brendan, do you really think we could get $650 for our house right now? That's what it's triggering that person to do. Now, if they don't own a home, you can use the email that we sent last week or set them up on a custom search so that they can receive properties that match their criteria. So this is the one that I watch people falter with, and I don't understand why. We're in the market of selling, our business is to sell properties. Are you getting the product in front of the consumer? So in the chat box, I want to ask you this question, and I want you to write this down and put it in the chat box. How many people in your database own a home? Yeah, this is the one where people go, right? Okay, we're getting some there. There we go. So 90%, Sharon, I love that. It's like, yeah, probably about 90% of the people in my database own a home. Jeff Lovato, 2,500. There we go. Kazan, that's an honest answer. Most, but not really sure. Stephen, roughly 150. So you should be able to pull this data from your database very quickly, right? Marsha's saying maybe 100. Is everyone in your system, can you search your database by home address, and do you have them tagged as a homeowner or a future seller? Tanya, 15, I love it, thank you, right? How do we approach ones in our database that are still renting? Yeah, so you're gonna be sending them properties for sale. See that second part of the thing there, right, Dave? So if they don't own a home, you're gonna be setting them up on a property alert for properties that they may want to purchase, right? So after you find out, like with the email last week that we sent, hey, what's the area that you're interested in? I know you might not be ready right now, but I want to make sure you're receiving properties. And I put some information in this email about how easy it is to purchase and start building equity and wealth through real estate instead of making some other landlord rich. Let me know when the time is right, but I want to make sure you can start seeing these types of properties on a monthly basis. Okay. Yeah. Brett's not really sure. Thank you for being honest. So the reason I asked that question is think about how crazy that is. Write this down. My job as a real estate professional is to know the status of everyone in my database. What I mean by status is if, when, and how, maybe not how, if and when they're going to sell or buy. There shouldn't be really a person living in my database that I don't know that answer for if I've done my job correctly. So this is what I said today. I knew was going to be, today is the slow, painful data management. And people go, I didn't get into real estate to do database management. Well, data is more important than oil. It's more important than gold. But if you want to go and do 3 open houses every week or even a month, and you're not getting this, right? You've got to log all of these things into the system. Okay. All right. Then the next thing, we're going to have 4 events. Think about it. You're building a sales funnel. Where you really want to do is get in front of people, right? Now, if you're an introvert like me, this isn't your favorite day of the quarter, right? Me and Lindsay hate these days because we actually have to come out of our shells and we have to speak to people. So what do? We self-medicate. We drink a couple Crown Royals, and then we're the friendliest person at the event, right? And we just work our way through it, and that's all we can do. But it's not for everyone, but you have to do it. If you're not in front of people, remember, the whole goal is to get relationships. It'd be very hard to have a long-term marriage if you never saw the person in person, right? So once every 90 days, a client appreciation event could be something as small as taking 2 of your clients to lunch, heck, a coffee with one of your clients. It doesn't have to be this massive night at the zoo situation. Book club, client, investor seminar, right? It could be something that you're guiding them to in person and being like, look, I'm going to spend a couple bucks on some buckets of Corona. I'm going to have a cheese platter, and I'm going to have an investor seminar so people can learn about buying and selling houses. And then I'm going to personally invite my database to come and attend. So in the chat box, do you have, by yes or no, your 2024 client appreciation events scheduled, or at least ideas of what they're going to be? Just simple yes or no. There we go. I love it. Good. Yeah, we got a lot of yeses in there, a couple no's. So yeah, for those no's, yeah, Sharon, exactly, right? That's what we want to be thinking about, right? When we go back to that slide that showed the formula, it's just now matching up what I'm going to do to this or what I'm going to have for this, and then get it put onto the calendar. The only way that our last year we had an amazing night at the Rockies event. And again, baseball, whatever you think of it, it's not for me, but okay, right? When we had this event, once you set the date and you know it's going to be on that night, you have to back out all of the touches that need to happen from it. It really puts you in a powerful position to make sure that I know this is happening. Now I got to make it happen. The date's already been done, the tickets have already been set, and then you just go and create a reverse engineered plan to make sure it's successful. All right. All right. And then lastly, but by far and away, well, not lastly, there's two pieces left. Second to last, that is highly critical that I still see people struggling with is 2 personal touches. Okay. A personal touch does not mean a postcard about a farmer's market. There's nothing personal about that. If you sent me a farmer's market postcard, I hate a farmer's market. There's nothing else I would rather be doing on earth than not be at a farmer's market. It is my actual physical nightmare. So that has nothing personal for me. Personal means something that you discovered that I care about. Perhaps it's that I love karaoke singing, and you find out the greatest karaoke bars in all of Denver and send me a list of, Brendan, I wasn't sure if you're aware, but these are the best karaoke bars in all of Denver. But you might be asking yourself, interesting with me being an introvert, that I love karaoke so much. I have no idea why I like it so much. I just really find it to be enjoyable. But that would be something that I would find very valuable. And if you sent that to me, when I thought of real estate, I'd be like, Susie sent me that whole thing about karaoke. She knows how much I love it. If I ever know of anybody that's looking to buy or sell real estate, I'm definitely going to give them her name, right? Or his name. Okay. So think about this right now, right? The problem with this one that hurts everyone the most, how do you schedule this in your database? So here's where I want to take a moment to pause and give you some pro tips. All right. If I know that someone in my database is a father, maybe one of the personal touches I'm going to do is a Father's Day card. It could be that's a personal touch, right? Most fathers on Father's Day do not get Father's Day cards, even from their own kids, because kids are cruel, right? So you're going to be that person that's going to be recognizing that they're an amazing parent or whatever it is, right? So to do that in your profile inside your CRM, you're going to have it set that whatever you're going to do is going to be sent out a month in advance. Or excuse me, a week in advance. I apologize, not a month, right? A week in advance. Now, here's the pro tip of how to do this. Once you start knowing how to use tags, once inside your database, you know that you've tagged all of these people as Father's Day mailer, you'll group the Father's Day mailer tags. So what you'll go in your database, and I don't know, Father's Day I think is in June. Is that right, Lindsay? I think so, right? So in the last week of May or whenever it is, I'm going to run the tag for everybody that's a father in my database. I'm going to produce the card, whether it's, purchase it myself. I'm going to sign it and do whatever it is. And then those are all going to go out. So it's still going to be batch done, if that's the right way of saying it, right? It's going to be done in a very systemized order. What I find some people do with this is they're scheduling follow-up tasks for personal touches one off. So every day you have 45 things to do for personal touches. You're going to get slaughtered if you try to do that at scale, right? So think about, to start this, think about Mother's Day, think about Veterans Day, think about things like that, where it's something that is semi-unique to them, but it's something that also would be unique to someone else that I can put into a batch tag system. Okay. So hopefully that made sense, because there was a lot of, I guess, tech stuff in there. All right. Then the other personal touch, of course, can be a birthday card, right? So if you're searching to find their birthday, you can obviously go and look for that. But just make sure as you start to build this out, this is that one that's the most often overlooked, that creates all the warm and fuzzy. Does the market report create a warm and fuzzy? Nope. Does the property alerts create a warm and fuzzy? Nope. Right? None of those things are going to create a warm and fuzzy. Those are to keep your face in front of them. You want to build a relationship, win their heart, make them feel special, and let them know that you see them and you know something about them that's pretty cool, and you're celebrating it. They'll remember you when the time comes. Okay. And then the last one, 4 phone calls. 1 phone call every 90 days to your ambassador logged into your system. Now, in our system, the way that it is designed is every time you call an ambassador and you log the recorded call, and we happen to use Follow-Up Boss, right? When you do the recorded call, that person disappears and they won't show up for another 90 days. If you're using Command or Boomtown or KDCore, whatever it's called, right? Just make sure the way that you're setting this up, every day you're going to be waking up and you should have 30-ish probably people, depending on your size of database, 20 to 30 people that in that week need to be followed up with because they haven't received a call from you in the last 90 days. It all depends on how you're going to set up your CRM. Where people are challenged with this, and I want to make sure we're super clear on it, we don't know what to call and talk about. So we have this sales conversation example here that we utilize all the time, where we call and talk about a number of things. We call it the 10-25-90. Every 10th of the month, we have a client giveaway. So I always have a reason to call somebody and tell them about the client giveaway, whether that's a paddleboard, whether that's a night at the Rockies, whatever it might be the giveaway is, I can call about that. The 25th is the business spotlight. So we feature a local business spotlight. And you can do this very easily individually, where you're just going to feature someone's business on your social media. And you can call your center of influence and say, hey, I was curious. We do a local business, or I do a local business spotlight every month. And I know from last time we chatted, I believe that, are you still currently a school teacher at the Horizon Middle School? Yeah, I'm still there. Okay, well, obviously we can help out and feature the school in any way, but I was reaching out to my database just to see if you know of any great businesses that I should know, that I should be in business with, or at least provide support to here locally. Do you know any great businesses that I should be in contact with? And then they're going to give you a name. They're going to be like, yeah, my sushi restaurant, or my dry cleaner, or my whatever. Would you mind if I gave them a call? Absolutely. And then you contact the business, and now you've got another business in your system. See, this is the difference. I'll watch agents sit there and call thousands of expireds, but they won't make this call to the people that they already know. And I can't for the life of me understand why. And then, of course, in the 10-25-90, you have the 90 days, right? Yeah, exactly, Greg. You have the 90 days, which is every 90 days, you're going to have a client appreciation event. So you could be calling them, inviting them to your client appreciation event. Now, if you run out of reasons to call, just call and do this. If they own a home and you already have them segregated by seller, hey, I've got a lot of buyers for insert your neighborhood. I just wanted to get an update. If you and Susie were to sell, or you and John were to sell, if it was the perfect situation, where would you guys go next? Cool. And when would that be? Oh my gosh. And Susie, if I were to bring you a cash offer right now for a crazy amount for your home, what I call a make me move number, if I were to deliver a make me move number for you to just be like, you'd be silly not to take this number. You have any idea what that number would need to be? Update database, update database, update database, right? So we're just making sure that everyone in our system, we have a status on. So you should never not have a reason to call, but I'll tell you, and even in our organization, this is the one that falls to the bottom the most. And here's another reason why, because maybe you're now a year out. It's been a year since you've called that past client. And you go through this whole guilt thing and you're like, oh my gosh, I know I was supposed to call him every 90 days. I screwed that up. I knew I was supposed to call him at 6 months. I screwed that up. It's been so long and I'm so embarrassed that I haven't followed up with them. If I give them a call now, they're right. Who cares? You're going to go through all of these emotions Just pick up the phone and make the call. I was talking to Lindsay yesterday. I had a client, Gary, reach out to me. It had been 11 years since I spoke to him about selling his house. And funny enough, I use Highlands Ranch a lot, in Highlands Ranch. Now, when I went on this listing appointment 11 years ago, his wife has some issues where I don't know what the phobia is, but you can't leave your house. Maybe someone can put it in the chat box for me. Anyway, she has a phobia of not being able to leave the home. So she hadn't left the home, I think, when it was 11 years ago. Thank you very much, Sharon. She hadn't left the home in like 6 years, not once. So this was 11 years ago. She also was an artist and decided to take the master bedroom sinks and use them as her art studio sinks. So when I walked in, everything was covered with splattered paint. And I remember Gary asking me, he was like, "Do you think buyers are going to have an issue with that?" I caught myself from saying something stupid, and I was like, "Oh, no, no, I think they're going to love that you have 50 gallons of splattered paint, like looks like a rainbow all over the marble counters. No, I think they're really really going to love that." Um, so anyway, long story short, he's been receiving a market report from me for the past 11 years, over a decade. Calls me, sends me an email and calls me, and he said, "Hey, I got let go from my position in marketing, starting to run out of money. I need to sell the house and get into something smaller." The two of them live in a 7,000 square foot house. So I tell that story just simply for the understanding of going, look, there's no matter what amount of time could have gone by, right? It doesn't matter that you might be the only person that they know in this world that does real estate. There's not a wrong time to get back engaged and make that phone call. Okay. All right. So make sure that's the big piece here. So here's the best way to do this, and this is going to be painful. Okay. So in the database, I want you to put in there how many total human beings do you have in your database right now? So give me that number, slash, hold on, quick fires, slash, out of that number, how many of them, after hearing what I said today, are true ambassadors? So let's say I have 450 people in my database. How many people, after hearing everything you heard today, are true ambassadors out of that number? Go ahead and put that in the chat box now. So Sharon's got about 850 in the database, has about 100 ambassadors. Ernie, I love that honesty, right? 2,100 in the database. You should never have to make a cold call ever again. 2,100 in the database, 6 ambassadors. 10 out of 680, 2 out of 144, 30, 50, and 80, 245. I love this. So really quick here, I want to make sure that you understand, in the chat box, we're going to put a link to this document called the Ambassador Audit Checklist. Okay. This document, or maybe not a link, the PDF, I'd probably be easier. Okay. We're going to post this as well. Here's how you win the game of real estate. 47 out of 12. There you go. 12 out of 47. Sorry. Yeah. 202,000, and Brett's got about 8. Do we see why this is so critical? So this Ambassador Audit Checklist is going to slow your whole world down and go, I'm going to go person by person. You probably have 25 extra ambassadors in your database right now. You just haven't spent the time to process them. And I don't even like that word. You haven't spent the time to create a touch schedule for them.